We're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, and greetings from our Peer Advisors and Mentors program, affectionately known as PAM. I am Hope Walton, Director of the Peer Advisors and Mentors program, and I'm so pleased to have this chance to share some information about our program. Unfortunately, Roger Mackenstropa, who was supposed to be on this panel today, is very ill, and so he's unable to participate, but he wanted me to extend greetings to you. We have Miss Laura Fitterer, who is one of our administrative assistants in the PAM program. And certainly if you participate in the PAM program, you will certainly get a chance to connect and bond with her. We're also so pleased to have a student, a person who is a participant in the PAM program as a mentor. And so what we're going to do today, I'm going to talk a little bit about, to give you a historical perspective of the PAM program, but also talk about some components and some of the activities and leadership opportunities that are afforded you in this program. And then we're going to hear from Nickyamasaki, who is our student rep from the PAM program. Now, to give you a bit of history, excuse me, I was hired in 1991 to actually create an academic skills center that had nothing to do with the PAM program. But because of my previous experiences at two other institutions in which I either created or participated in the creation of peer mentoring, faculty mentoring, as well as alumni mentoring and establishing a student admissions committee along with other activities, it was really kind of quite natural for me to actually navigate towards establishing a peer mentoring program at the University of Richmond. And so during my first year at UR, I actually, excuse me, designed this program to actually provide a collaborative experience that assists with the retention of students through mentoring, leadership, as well as academic excellence. And so PAM is getting ready to celebrate its 29th birthday this coming fall. And so throughout that 29 years, we have had just phenomenal success stories that I could share with you. First of all, folks, our first year mentees who participate in the PAM program, they successfully integrate into the university environment. And this is so important for folks in terms of universities across the country. They always want to have some type of activities or programs that will help students to really integrate successfully into the university. So PAM has been very successful in that regard. Our PAM's first year mentees also, they excel academically. And just to give you a perfect example, last year's class, excuse me, they earned a 3.8 GPA, a mean grade point average of 3.8, which is phenomenal. But we see those types of successes throughout the year. Also, our first year mentees, as well as our upper class mentors, they're leaders on this campus. And also PAM is almost like a household word on this campus, very well known throughout the university community. You will also find that most people will say that PAM is one of the most diverse and inclusive student organizations on campus. It is very eclectic. It includes everyone, white, international, African-American, Hispanic, Asian, and some first generation students, as well as biracial and multiracial students. And demographically, you will find that students come from the rural areas, the urban areas, suburban areas, et cetera, from within the United States, as well as other countries. And finally, folks, one of the hallmarks of the PAM program is that it is known to retain students. We have one of the highest retention rates within the PAM program. And so to give you a really solid and as well as a challenging example, the first year students who entered the university during the fall of 2019, and mind you, that was the year in which the pandemic struck. And so the second semester of that first year class that entered in 2019, that's when the challenges began. However, 97% of those first year students who entered in the fall of 2019 returned as second year students for the fall of 2020, which was exceptional given the many challenges that these students had to endure. And so to further showcase the successes of PAM, the PAM retention rates have now exceeded the university's retention rates for 24 years out of a 28-year period, which is pretty phenomenal. And we're so pleased to have those types of success stories to share with you. And so at this time, I'm going to switch gears and talk a little bit about some of the activities, the leadership opportunities that are afforded our first-year mentees when they participate in this extraordinary program. First of all, folks, I wanted to make clear that if you participate in the PAM program, you will be assigned a mentor who will work with you throughout your entire first-year academic year at the university. And so they will engage you in a lot of one-on-one types of activities as well as group activities. And I'll talk about the group activities and family cluster activities in a few moments. But as you can imagine, a lot of our students, and we give them the chance, the mentors, a chance to be as creative as they wish to be. And so as you can imagine, a lot of our gatherings are centered around food. The first year mentees, as well as the upper class students, certainly like to gather, in which they include food as a part of those activities, but they do other things. They engage students in academic lectures. Some of them might take their mentees to the movies, and then they'll go out to dinner, or perhaps go to Sweet Frog. They love Sweet Frog for dessert and other types of restaurants on in the Richmond area. We have a lot of great restaurants in the Richmond community. One of the activities I've been tickled with over the years involved this upper class mentor who took his mentee to Charlottesville to see a Dave Matthews concert. And it's tickling because I lived in Charlottesville for 16 years and I never once went to a Dave Matthews concert, and he's actually from the Charlottesville area. And so this mentor drove him up to Charlottesville. They saw the concert and then they had dinner afterwards. And I can assure you that that first year mentee, he talked about that experience for the rest of his second semester, his spring term at the university, which was really, really interesting. But also some of our male mentors over the years, they tend to engage their mentees in exercise. So if they are people who tend to go to the gym once or 2 or 3 times a week, then they normally will engage their mentees in those types of activities as well. And of course, some of our mentors will certainly take their mentees to some of their student organizational events and activities and meetings as well. Now, in terms of the, the group activities, again, our upper class mentors, we select them and actually meet with them in February of each year. And so each class of newly selected mentors are different. And so we give them the chance to collaborate and decide whether or not they want to retain some of the activities that we've been involved in over the years, or whether or not they'll come up with some new ideas. And so every year for well over 20 plus years, we've had an induction ceremony on the second day of classes in which students, the mentees, actually officially will physically have a chance to meet their mentors, although the mentors will be in touch with them throughout the summer months. The induction ceremony is a lot of fun. There is some leadership training there, but we also engage them in lots of activities and bonding and connections activities that really begin the bonding process during that time frame. Over the years, we've had a barbecue in the first month of school, or I should say September. And this past fall, because of COVID-19, we changed that to a game night gathering, which was pretty well attended as well. One of the activities in terms of a group activities that we have had for many, many years, it's kind of like a blowout. It is held on the last day of classes in December, and it's called the end of the semester jam. And so we take mentees and mentors to State Nation and in the Short Pump area, where they play laser tag and other types of games, where they eat lots of pizza and salads and what have you, and all other types of desserts and eateries here they participate in. And then at 8 or 8:30 that night, they actually do the ice skating. And so that gives give the students a chance to really do a blowout before they really engage in getting ready for their final exams. And so Also, in terms of group activities, I have to admit that our students at UR in general, they're very much committed to engaging in community service, and it's no different with the PAM program. We typically participate in a community service project each semester. And so I'll talk very briefly about the one that we held in February. We always have this program in February for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro Richmond. And so in the past, we were able to bring these students, 6 to 12-year-olds from those different clubs to campus where they all come together in this huge room called the Alice Haynes Room, and where we typically will have a theme. And so, for example, years ago, we had a theme of celebrating Heart Month. And so each year they will actually stage all these different stations within that room. And so with the Heart Month theme, we might have had a station where you found out about nutritious foods and actually sampled foods. Other stations might have had science experiments. They might have tug of rope. They love that particular thing. We also have karaoke, and we feed them with lots of carbs, pizzas and potato chips and desserts. And I'm sure that these kids are bouncing off the wall by the time they go home. But that's a really a program that the younger kids really relish. And again, they're typically are in the age range of 6 to 12, and they really connect with our mentees and mentors during that time frame. But because of COVID this year, we had to do a virtual type event, which was still phenomenal because our students, our PAM leaders, our PAM mentees and mentors, they came up and produced a video that showcased the entire campus. And again, a lot of the mentees and mentors showed different eateries on campus. Like I said, students love to eat on this campus. I'm sure that's at other campuses around the nation as well. But they also talked about their classes and where they were from, what year, what classification, et cetera, et cetera. It was really a nicely produced program that they put on YouTube. And so, and then, and lastly, in terms of the group activities, we always have an end of the year dinner celebration where we choose and announce our person who has won the Mentor of the Year award. We have a Mentee of the Year award, and we have a Family Cluster of the Year award. And that brings me to the Family Cluster activities. Folks, this actual concept was created by a PAM student probably about 22 years ago. She participated as a first-year mentee, and then she was a leader, a PAM co-chair the remaining 3 years of her time at UR. And so she came up with this concept in which we put students in family clusters. Typically, a cluster might include 12 to 14, or perhaps 10 to 12 mentees and mentors. And the smaller clusters give the chance for mentees and mentors to really bond and connect with one another on a smaller scale within the larger framework of the PAM family. But of course, our mentees and mentors get to know other mentees and mentors within other family clusters as well. And so that activity has worked very well. And so we have this Browns Island where a lot of our mentors might take their mentees to concerts. That's near the Richmond, in the Richmond, city of Richmond area. And so that's one of the family cluster activities. For those of you who are familiar with King's Dominion, during the Halloween weekend, a lot of our mentors and mentees might go on a haunted hayride. And that's pretty scary from what I'm told. I mean, you're put on a flatbed truck, and then they kind of like drive you through the wooded areas and leave you there, and you got to find your way back. And some people find it very fascinating and enjoyable. Others were a little bit more frightened, but they do this practically every year. And of course, our students as a family cluster might do the ropes course. And there's so many other types of activities. Again, we allow our mentors and our family cluster leaders to be as creative as they wish to be. And we help them fund these activities as they bring in these PAM requests to do and engage in certain things. And finally, what I wanted to talk about is the leadership opportunities. As I mentioned earlier, we do some training of the first year mentees, but the predominant training takes place with our upper class mentors, which occur every spring prior to them really engaging in the PAM program in the summer months, working with their their selected mentees in the program. And so, but our mentors and mentees, they are able to go and attend a number of leadership opportunities or conferences pretty much on the Eastern Seaboard. So for example, one of our leadership conferences that's pretty popular includes the International Student Leadership Conference that's held at James Madison University in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Our students love this this particular opportunity. We always bring a van load of students to that conference. It's for several days on the weekend, starting on a Thursday evening. And although it's called International Student Leadership, you can best believe that it's an eclectic conference. It includes American students, of course, as well as international students. And they always have some fabulous speakers there. We also have this is another popular conference that many of our students throughout the university participate in, and that's called the East Coast Asian Student Union Conference. And again, it might have Asian in the name, but you will find white, Black students, Hispanic students, everything that you can imagine, every ethnicity that you can imagine would go to this, because this is a very strong conference. And how I describe it is that leadership is leadership. It doesn't matter that it is called the East Coast Asian Student Union. And so we have lots of other activities such as that. To give you another example, several years ago, we had a Chinese student who was majoring in computer science, and he participated in this cybersecurity competition at VCU, our neighboring school, the Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, and he won first place. And so then he and another student wanted to go to Shanghai to compete in another competition, and we provided help and support for his plane ticket, his meals, as well as his hotel expenses. And he won second place when he went there. And so other opportunities like that, sometimes our students might go abroad during the spring break to engage in a community service project. We have helped to fund those types of activities as well. And then research. Sometimes our students will conduct research and present a paper in New York or other cities, and we help them fund that sort of presentation of their work as well. And so at this point, I am going to stop and let you hear from our illustrious student, Nickyamasaki. And Nick, and at this time, why don't you tell our audience where you're from, your classification, and what really drew or attracted you to the Peer Advisors and Mentors program.
Yeah, so I'm Nickyamasaki. I am from Morris County, New Jersey. I'm an upcoming junior. I'm studying finance and accounting. And this past year was my first year as a member of PAM. And, you know, it really was a great year. I joined primarily because sort of, I guess what played the largest role in joining PAM was that I basically saw that in my first year, it would have been real nice to have someone who I could go to when I needed help with classes or needed help finding a social scene, or just, you know, wanted to go off campus to, again, you know, eat some food or something. And I remember going into my first semester, I was a little confused, a little uneasy, especially when it came to stuff like registering for classes, or, you know, what orientation would be like, or what the dorms would be like, and all that. And the university does offer administrators and advisors who are helpful, but I think what PAM offers is a more personal connection with another student who's been through that same exact stuff, and, you know, can offer guidance and basically guidance through what they've experienced. And so I saw that aspect of my first year, and I saw that it was sort of lacking. So I thought that by joining PAM, it would be not only a great opportunity to grow as a leader and as a student, but also just to help other first years as they adjust. And I think it really does help a lot of the first years.
Sure. And how did you really help your first year mentee in adjusting to the university environment in your first year as a mentor in the PAM program?
Right. So I touched on some of this briefly, so I'll keep this brief. But I think the biggest way it helps is knowing that when you get on campus, and before that even, there's someone who you know who is sort of looking out for you, and someone who who you can go to if you really, need help. And I think that having that immediate connection with another student gives you maybe a confidence and a sense of belonging that allows you to adjust to campus much easier. And I know that's the case for my mentee this past year. And I hear that all the time from other mentees, that it's really helped them in that way, just to come on campus and have that sense of belonging right when you come there, because a great mentor.
And the thing that's so fascinating is that you won't just become friends that first year of your PAM experience. It extends way into throughout your undergraduate years as well as beyond, which is really exciting about the PAM program as well. Could you talk a little bit about your relationship with your mentee this past academic year?
Yeah. So as we've sort of mentioned, the joke for many of us in PAM is that many of the mentees and mentor relationships are built around food. And that was most definitely the case for me and my mentee. We probably went out close to 10 times to get food. And we weren't talking runs to Taco Bell, although that is great. We're talking, full meals at like a shish kebab restaurant or a nice sit down place. And so it is true that our relationship was sort of developed in the context of food. But I think ultimately we were able to develop a friendship based around our shared values and our similar goals and aspirations and our career goals. And they really do try to match you up with another mentor or mentee who shares those similar goals. And so now my mentee is one of my closest friends, as
Mhm.
Hope was talking about. The other night my mentee just came over to say bye for the semester, and we just ended up talking for 3 hours until like 2 a.m. So it's just that type of thing. And
Mhm.
many times they are, these relationships are built around food, but eventually many of them develop into close friendships that will
Sure.
last well beyond your time at Richmond.
Mhm. So did you team up with any other mentors for different events during your academic year, your first?
Right. So as you said, we do have this family cluster leader. So that's the main time when you interact with other mentors. One thing me and my mentee did is we did sort of start connecting with another mentee. And so we just, we all three of us would get together, even though, he wasn't officially our mentee.
Okay.
And we'd connect over that. And that's like I think that's one of the best things about it. It's people go out of their way to make sure you're feeling like you have a place on campus. And so that's huge when you're a first year.
Yeah, and the neat thing too, in terms of the family clusters, is that sometimes students from one cluster will go and participate in another your horizons and actually meeting up with other students. Could you discuss any leadership opportunities that may have impacted you and in your participation in the PAM program?
Yeah, so primarily what I have found when applying for internships or jobs, and when the employers see that you have the PAM mentoring program on your resume, I think it really strikes a chord with them, because mentorship is such a huge part of leadership that often gets overlooked. And so yes, in PAM there are tons of leadership opportunities and positions where you plan events, or where you work with other faculty and plan a service project. Types of like that stuff like that is so huge, and it's really helps me learn how to manage people, how to communicate with people. But I think the way I grew the most as a leader was just sitting down one-on-one with another mentee, asking him about his classes, or asking him about his relationships or career aspirations, and learning how to make that deep personal connection, and then offering guidance based on your own experience. I think that's maybe the most important aspect of leadership, or at least one of them. And that's sort of how I really grew as a leader. And I think it really prepares you in a professional aspect, and just as you look to make relationships going forward. So yeah, it
Sure,
really does prepare you well.
great. Any other things that you might want to share with our audience tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say join, like please apply at the very least. At the very least, you're gonna make some friends. You're gonna have a good time. And if you're like many of the other mentors and mentees, you're gonna make great friendships that last you a while. And so if you like eating, of course join. But it really is great. So I would highly recommend it.
Okay. Well, we have this Q&A for those of you who might have questions. And Laura, did you see anyone? I thought I saw.
Yes, so we have a few questions. The first one, someone wants to know, what the commitment to the PAM program looks like.
Okay. Well, folks, we allow flexibility there. I outlined some of the one-on-one types of activities and the group activities and the family cluster activities, but I want to let you know that there is flexibility. I mean, there are some times in which you might have a class that conflicts with a PAM event, or you might have an emergency at home and you have to go home for a particular day. And so you get the best or the goodies out of the program when you participate as many of the activities as possible. But we certainly recognize that there are going to be some obstacles or conflicts along the way. And so the commitment, in a sense, is to make sure that you do well, you excel academically, you integrate into the university environment. And so much of that happens through the different activities that we plan for you, the one-on-one, the group, the family clusters, the chance to engage in leadership opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. So PAM is what you make of it in a sense, but one of the requirements that we do have, we only ask you to engage in an online evaluation twice a semester, because we want to know if your PAM mentor said that they took you to King's Dominion, we want to see that on your form as well. It serves as kind of like a checks and balances. So I would say for the most part, students do very well in being able to get involved in the different types of activities throughout the year. But we also recognize too that there are going to be some occasions in which you're not able to participate. Okay, what's the other one, Laura?
People would like to know about the selection criteria.
Okay. Well, we look at a number of things, folks, in terms of that application. We try to match you up according to your hobbies, your interests, your academic interests, things of that nature. We get information in terms of where you're coming from, whether or not you're from a rural, urban, or suburban area, whether or not you're an international student, and the other areas that I mentioned before in terms of PAM being an eclectic composition of students from around the world. And so we look at all those types of things. And then we also look at the things that you were engaged in from high school and what your interpersonal, because we're not going to put two introverted people together. So we look at that. We ask you that question, are you an extroverted or are you an introvert? And so we look at all those types of things. And I can assure you that every match is not made in heaven, but we have done a good job over the years, an excellent job over the years in terms of making some great pairings, in terms of looking at putting you with a student who might have either an academic interest of the same, or you might have different hobbies or other types of interests. And so typically our students connect very well based on the selections that we make during the course of the summer months.
And about how many mentees will we accept this year?
Roughly around 90. The PAM program is fairly small, but we have grown the program at the request of our VP as well as our former president of the University of Richmond. And so total last year was about 167. We probably will have close to 180 plus in the coming summer that we will choose for the fall, the academic year. PAM is a very competitive program. We send the invites to the entire entering first year class of students, all 800 plus. And we typically have about 300, close to 300 applications for only about 90 to 100 spaces. So it's very competitive. And so, but we hope that you will think about seriously applying to this extraordinary program.
All right, now we have two questions asking about the difference between the PAM program and the Endeavor program. Okay. And also, are they allowed to participate in the Bonner program as well?
Whoa, all three?
Yes.
That would be
well, three questions about those things.
Okay. Is that to combine though in terms of participating in all three programs? Is that what you're asking?
People want to know if they can participate in PAM and Endeavor and in PAM and Bonner.
Okay, over the years,
yes.
we've certainly had our share of PAM students who are also a part of the Endeavor program. And we also have had students who are Bonner scholars who are also in the PAM program. Now, the difference, there are a number of similarities between PAM and the Endeavor program. The Endeavor program is a living and learning experience where you will have some really wonderful connections with faculty. You will also connect very well with the students in your class in that living and learning community. Whereas PAM, you will be assigned a mentor who will work with you throughout your academic year. You don't live together, but you engage in different types of interactions throughout your academic year to help you become successful and to successfully integrate into the university environment. Both programs, the Endeavor and the PAM program, are high impact programs that's committed to and have actually results in terms of successful integration into the university environment, which I said earlier, which is so important. When students integrate nicely into a university environment, they tend to come back as second-year students and graduate on time. So we have those type of similarities. The Endeavor program also, their students excel academically, just like the PAM students as well. But again, over the years, we have had certainly some students who have participated in both. Now, the Bonner Scholar program, we have had our share of students who have done both as well. There is a 10-hour service component per week with the Bonner's program. And so we try to change our dates for PAM events when we do group activities so that we don't conflict with other activities that might be going on. For example, with the Bonner program, like on a weekend, on a Friday, a Bonner student might be doing a service project up until about 5 o'clock, and most of our activities might start at 6. And so it all varies from year to year. But yes, people can certainly participate in both of those programs, Endeavor, PAM, as well as the Bonner Scholars Program.
And how do they apply?
Okay, you can actually go to your Spider portal where you will be able to apply to the PAM program. Laura, are you going to share the website to PAM as well?
I've put all the instructions in the chat.
Okay, now they can't see the chat, can they?
Yes.
But I thought Andy said they couldn't see they can see the chat? Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, folks, well, we have, our website for PAM is pam.richmond.edu. And so you can go to that and select, as Laura has put in there, select mentees from the ribbon at the top of the screen, and then you click apply. And there you will see the application, and you just send that in, and you'll, once you complete that application, it will give you a thank you at the end. So that will give you indication that we have received your application. Other questions? Okay.
Nothing else.
All righty. And I saw someone who gave greetings from Russia. And so we give greetings to you. And I'm sure we have people from all over the world. And certainly wanted to let you know if you apply to PAM, and even if you don't, we certainly look forward to interacting with you throughout your years at UR. Because so many of the students, when they, even if they, let's say, for example, they don't get accepted into the PAM program and they're put on a kind of like an alternate list. And then occasionally we will take some students off the alternate list. But students who did not apply to PAM oftentimes will apply as a mentor during their first year. And that's when we discover that some of those students might have experienced some of the things that Nick might have mentioned, like homesickness, not necessarily connecting right away to the environment. And so some of the students wish that they had applied to the PAM program, because the PAM program is a family. And so we really, it's not just the mentors who nurture and mentor the students, but myself, as well as Laura Federer, Marie Borland, who is our other administrative assistant, and Roger Mankin-Stroper, better known as Mac, who is our associate director. You will certainly get to know us. We don't promise to know every person in PAM, but I can assure you that we know quite a few of the students that we connect with throughout their years at UR. And even if, and also I must add too that we have one of those things that in which they talk about in retention literature, in which many of our PAM first year mentees, they want to give back because of their positive experiences in the PAM program. And so therefore they apply as mentors. And so there have been some years in which we've had as high as 56% of the first year mentees become mentors. And so that's exciting. And even if a particular mentee did not have a good experience, oftentimes they will apply to become a mentor because they know what it takes to become a good mentor. But for the most part, folks, our students, mentees and mentors, they have some very positive relationships. And if there are any difficulties between the mentoring relationship, we are contacted and we might make adjustments. We might assign a person to another mentor or to another cluster, that sort of thing. We keep up in terms of what's going on in your lives. We're not intrusive now, but we do know what's going on so that we can make your experience a better experience within the university environment.
And Hope, we do have one more question.
Okay.
Does the selection committee refer to the admissions office and consider high school transcripts, test scores, etc., when deciding to admit or deny a student to the PAM program?
Well, we get all of that type of information. We get whether or not a student is a first generation student, whether or not a student is an international student. We get the test scores. We get the grades, look at so that we can make a good decision. So we do get some, so we do have that that relationship with the admissions office. And I'm a former admissions officer myself, folks. I worked as an assistant dean of admissions at UVA for 8 years. And then I was director of admissions at Virginia State University, which is down the road from Richmond, which is my hometown of Petersburg, Virginia, which is 22 miles south of Richmond. And so we definitely collaborate with the admissions folks. We participate in their yield programs, their recruitment programs, et cetera. I always say once an admissions officer, always an admissions officer, but I believe fervently in working towards helping the university with the recruitment and retention of students. Other questions, folks? Don't be shy. This is your time to ask whatever burning questions that you might have with the PAM program or anything else about the university that perhaps we can help you with. Okay, anything else?
Nothing yet.
Okay, well, we'll give them a few seconds, but we really appreciated having this time to spend with you, and we certainly hope that you will contact us should you have some additional questions. And I think Nick wanted to provide his email address should you want to hear some more information or attain additional information from a student perspective.
We have one final question.
Okay.
Would you consider expanding the program?
That's an interesting question. We have expanded the program. Let me just tell you some history here. When we had our first PAM class in the fall of 1992, we had 11 mentees and 11 mentors, only 22 people. So we have grown from 22 to over 160 from this past year. And then, as I said, our VP has asked us to continue to grow the program because of the successes of the PAM program. But we also do not want to lose the intimacy of the PAM program. I think when you get really huge, sometimes you can lose that intimacy in terms of the program. And so therefore, we have pretty much tried to stay fairly small at the university. But again, in the last 5 years, we have increased the program just incrementally. It's a smaller thing, but trust me, we might have 180 or 190 students this coming fall total in terms of mentees and mentors. And that's a big difference from almost 30 years ago. And so I assume that we will continue to increase it in small increments, though, because again, we try our best to not lose that intimacy which we have now within the program. but our VP is very high on the peer advisor and mentors program. In fact, he supports the program through funding as well. And we published an article in 2015 on the PAM program that gave that perspective, historical perspective of how the PAM program evolved and moved it all the way up to about 2015. And it was very well received around the educational communities throughout the United States. And as a result of that article, the PAM program enjoyed even more funding from the university to continue this program and to also increase it somewhat. It has not, it is a significant increase if you were to compare to the very first year of the program. And you also have to understand too, that there are some other mentoring opportunities on campus besides the PAM program. PAM right now tends to be one of the larger student organizations that deal with mentoring, but we have a number of other mentoring activities within the PAM program. Just like when the question that was asked about the Endeavor program, you're going to make those connections with that faculty in that classroom, and you're going to make those connections with the students in that classroom and in that living and learning community. So there's so many other opportunities such as that that you can enjoy in addition to the PAM program. Okay, any other questions? And so we certainly hope to see your applications into place. I'm easily rememberable. You can remember my email address, which is h.walton@richmond.edu. So feel free to write me or Ms. Federer or Roger Mackenstropa or Nick, should you have any excuse me, questions about the PAM program. Excuse me. And again, we certainly look forward to interacting with you in the coming years. And so thank you so much for participating in this program, and you have a great evening. All right, take care.